discussing today the legalization of marijuana and the different aspects of why legal marijuana needs to be legalized. We'll be looking at why marijuana should be legalized, who all will benefit from marijuana legalization, what are the actual costs, and the opposition and supporters of legalized marijuana. Kentucky State House Bill 136 was presented to uh, Medicaid cannabis and making it an appropriation for it to be legalized. So that was sponsored by the list of uh, representatives for the Kentucky State House listed below. It is presented to the Judiciary Committee instead of the Agricultural Committee because the Judiciary Committee has to make a change to an existing law. The Agricultural Committee would be the ones that it would make sense for them to be involved in because it is a naturally grown product. But with it being a pre-existing law to fight against marijuana, the Judiciary Committee would be the ones that would be overseeing a new law being presented. My name is Joseph Michael Hayes. I am a bachelor's degree registered nurse working at the VA Medical Center and operating room. I've been a registered nurse now since 2008, so almost 15 years at this point. I am also a member of the AORN and have been on and off again a member of Pi Beta Tau, where I graduated from Indiana University with. The importance of legalization of marijuana is to help people who are suffering from different diseases that would benefit from marijuana legalization, the use of marijuana to help relieve such things as pain, discomfort, glaucoma, different things that they cannot use regular medications for. It will be very important for these people as an alternative pain medication, as well as a treatment for things such as cancer and stuff to that effect, where it helps the other drugs and coexist with the other drugs to help them to be more beneficial to the patients. It also will be beneficial to the agricultural community as it is a natural grown product here in the United States, especially in the state of Kentucky, where you can ride around and see it growing basically wild side. If you ride down some of these back roads and on the back highways, you'll see it growing wild on the side of the road. We'll look at testimony as I present it forward about the use of medical marijuana being naturally grown, so you don't have the actual communicable man-made products that a lot of people are opposed to using and have gotten a lot of people addicted to different things such as the opioid crisis we've been fighting for at least the last 10 years in the United States. Again, a lot of these diseases that you'll see that it will help relieve the pain are glaucoma, fibromyalgia, cancer, anemia, AIDS, and insomnia. And again, insomnia is one of those ones that helps that a lot of people who have different psychological diseases will help them sleep better at night, helps them cope with their PTSD, helps them cope with different things such as anxiety, so it will help them sleeping at night. Anemia with the sickle cell anemia, it has been shown in studies, and we use that as part of our research in this presentation. Sickle cell anemia is a very painful thing that a majority of the African American male population does suffer from, and this does help to prevent some of their pain from presenting itself. Summary of the bill. The bill is basically to establish the ability of the state of Kentucky to license and allow different individuals to use medical marijuana for these different diseases and prospects. It does eliminate the use of some people from the use of medical marijuana, anyone who has anything involved to do with the schools, basically, if you can drive a school bus, a school teacher on school grounds, anything to that effect, you cannot use marijuana and still maintain your job. It will never affect the federal government. The federal government will have to pass their own laws. So if a federal government employee decides they want to use medical marijuana, they'll fall under jurisdiction of the federal government instead of the state government. State government will never overrun the others. It still will be illegal to use while operating a motor vehicle or any other kind of vehicle that could cause harm to another individual. So there are parts of this bill that are in place to protect those people that will not harm others. So looking forward to that, that will be a big argument as this goes down further down the road. Why it is time. We've been fighting the opioid crisis in the United States for, as stated earlier, almost 10 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. Eastern Kentucky is one of the largest arenas of where opioid crisis hit, where people were taking and trading their pills for other drugs to other areas of the country, coming back and nobody being able to figure out what was really wrong with them. So marijuana being legalized would help to eliminate some of that because it's a drug that would help alleviate the pain, to help keep these folks from searching out other forms of medication from other places, driving to other places to do this. It's also time because we have gotten to that point where tobacco is becoming a crop that is no longer used. And with it no longer being used and slowly disappearing, the tobacco industry would be able to step in to help, regulate, manifest, process, distribute, and sell the products as needed in the state of Kentucky as across the United States as well. So there are pros and cons to all of it, and it will help out with the economic impact. Our country and our state are both in a time of crisis when it comes to financial needs. Eliminating the use of funds to fight marijuana itself will save the state and the federal government a ton of money. As you'll see on some of these slides, it could be upwards of almost $1 billion. And when you start thinking about that kind of money just fighting it, what kind of money can they make by distributing and controlling the regulation of marijuana? So with marijuana being a natural product, it grows naturally on the side of the road, like stated earlier in the state of Kentucky. It also is easier for people to farm. It's not as hard on the soil as tobacco is. They don't have to tear up the soil and change crops every couple of years. So the ability to grow it will be as well. The money spent combating marijuana can be used to help promote marijuana, taking away the task force that they need to use to fight marijuana. They'll be able to use that task force to help maintain and control the distribution of marijuana, to get the product out in a proper way, to make sure it stays in the proper hands and is not used as it is not intended to be used, to keep it from becoming a drug that is just running rampant and causing all kinds of different issues. You'll have the ability to have a regulation committee and make sure that the people that are using it are supposed to be using it. And just like with alcohol being an illegal substance in the United States, people being able to use it would face penalties for misusing it just like they would for alcohol. The use of marijuana would have to be regulated as stated. Training for all the medical staff and everyone else would have to be implemented so that they knew what the actual side effects would be when it comes to other medications and different things, to make sure that they are not causing any more issues. The fact that it is fact of being evidence of prescription of marijuana for insomnia and its ability to help with those also is a big stepping stone when it comes time to looking at different things that could happen with marijuana, because it's going to be available for everybody to be used. but it'll also help with the actual um, different disease processes without having to man-made prescription medications and everything that everyone's going to have to use again. The economic impact will be huge with the legalization of marijuana. A study that was performed back in 2003, so almost 20 years ago, by a gentleman back at the University of Boston, showed that there were a large number of monies available to pull back in a way and not spend on just the fighting of marijuana and turn it into a profit for the whole state. The large amount of money spent by each state to combat the use of marijuana, it does vary. This particular study that I'm referring to showed that the state of Massachusetts was fighting marijuana to the tune of $1.3 million a year in 2003. So that's 20 years without inflation and stuff to that effect. So with that being said, there are 1.5 million arrests made in combating the use of marijuana. Over narcotics. Half of them being attributed to marijuana. So 750,000 people arrested for the use of marijuana and different aspects of the use of marijuana every year. To incarcerate someone in the state government and federal government, it costs roughly about $1,500 per day. When you start to figure that amount of money in for 750,000 arrests per year, if each of them spends one day and one day alone in the federal government system, that is almost $800 million spent just to incarcerate folks for the use of marijuana, which again is a naturally growing substance in the United States. So, in conclusion, legalizing marijuana is both a polarizing subject and one that will be fought for a lot of years. There are the opponents and proponents of this whole thing. That being said, you have people that will stand on one side saying that you're going to have people that use the drug that shouldn't be using the drug. You have people that will use a drug that should be using a drug. And if we rely on the government to fight over party lines as they have in so many other things, then we're going to be sitting in a stalemate of how to better serve the population as a whole. We need to look forward and try to move forward with these things, try to get something new going for these folks so that they can have a way to live their lives without fear of punishment for the fact that they are using something that should be legalized in the beginning, as it was been used all the way back to when the Pilgrims first landed and met up with the Indians the first time. If you do your history on marijuana, it was traded, it was used, and it was used all the way up until it was just turned into a illegal substance in 1970. So almost 300 years of being used in this country. And then in 1970, they decided they wanted to fight marijuana because there were people that they felt like should be not able to use a certain drug. So now those people are using prescription medications instead of a non-prescription medication, using a artificial substance instead of a natural substance. So in conclusion, you need to get these people all together on the same page. Legalize marijuana so that the folks can be using the marijuana as they need to. Use it for the people that need to have it, people that suffer from debilitating diseases. Help them be able to get back to doing the things that they can do on a daily basis. Helping them get the sleep they need to become a functioning member of society. Helping them fight the pain so they can again become a functioning member of society. When you think about the economic impact, you think about the fact that you have farmers that will be growing the substance, that will be taxed on the growing of the substance and the selling of the substance, out to the distributors who will be taxed on the distribution and the selling of these products as well. So when the pharmaceutical companies and the more liberal population do not want to legalize marijuana for one reason or another, then the more conservative population does not want to legalize for one reason or another. It'll be up to the liberal side and the medical staff to step in to, explain why it will be beneficial, why this whole process would work, because it would help these people and would in turn even possibly, not knowing this for a fact yet because it hasn't happened, possibly lower the cost of healthcare for some of these folks as well. Because if they're not having to spend as much time in the hospital because of pain related issues, it may end up freeing up space for other folks that need to be seen for more things that can be treated on an emergent basis. As someone who is cross trained in the emergency room and worked in the emergency room, again, seeing people come in for things such as pain control. There is a lot of folks that are taking up space that are in there for pain control. And marijuana, again, as stated in this conclusion, would help with that as well. So when we go to look at our next representatives we vote into the House and the Senate and even the United States president, we need to look at people that are going to have a more open mind to what process and progress we can make forward to help people of the United States in both the health field and the agricultural field, as well as getting something for all of us that will benefit. I appreciate your time, and you all have a wonderful afternoon. These are a list of references of folks that were studied for this presentation as well.